Morning and welcome to day 21 of my Veganuary experience. Quite a way through the month now. Can't believe how quickly it's gone. And I have to say, on the whole, I think it's going really well. And I guess probably putting aside all the worries about supplements and spoke about fibre in my diet yesterday and things like that. I think probably the single biggest issue is that of temptation, really. I really do enjoy the taste of a whole range of meats, and we're very lucky in the fact that we have been able to, in the past, raise our own pork and beef. Now, that might come as a little bit of a surprise to people who are watching this, knowing that I've taken on a vegan diet for the whole of January, and that I'm obviously married to somebody who's a vegan. But in a past life, we did actually keep rare breed pigs, and we did keep beef cattle, just a very small number. And I have to say, the meat that we got from both those lots of animals is really tasty. I won't go into great details here, but the animals were kept to the highest of welfare standards whilst we had them, putting to one side the whole thought that eventually they have to go to an abattoir, and even that we tried to make as good as possible. That sounds like a contradiction in terms, really, but yeah, we really tried our best for those animals, and I'm sure that was reflected in the meat that we then had. So I, could quite have easily throughout this month have thought, I could just enjoy a nice bacon sandwich or a nice joint of beef or something like that. And I've not been tempted to at all. I've been really focused on keeping this up, and I'm really pleased with myself that I've managed to do that. Pretty much on the whole, we had the slip up with the Greg's omelettes in their veggie breakfast, but other than that, I've been able to keep meat free. And actually, probably what I thought was going to be the hardest thing has actually ended up being quite easy. That I've not been bothered about not having meat in my diet. Now, clearly, I'm just doing this for January, and I just wanted to see how it worked for me and what the experience is all about. Obviously, my thoughts as we near the end of this experience are going to turn towards what happens in February, really. So I haven't really quite thought that through yet, and I think probably need to think about that as we get closer to the end of the month. But yeah, I feel that I've been able to resist the temptation. Now, that might be because of the fact that I'm married to a vegan, and therefore we tend to, it's not unusual to have plant-based diets, and maybe that's the thing that's really helped. I can imagine it would be much more challenging if you were in a family or in a relationship where you were the only one doing this, and there was meat being put out on the dinner table or whatever. And clearly, when it's staring you in the face, I'm guessing temptation may be more difficult to deal with. So I do sympathise for people like that. I was a little bit worried about a BBC News article, I think about a BBC 4 programme or BBC 3 programme, one of those other channels on the BBC that they're talking to people where it's vegans living in a non-vegan family type environment, and it was awful, the story that I was hearing about This family being very split, and almost irreconcilable. And I thought that was very difficult. And I've not seen the programme yet. I will try and find it. I suspect I'll be watching it on catch up, so we'll try and find that programme and just find exactly what that's all about. And unsurprisingly, I think that's probably the right word, that the vegan was a younger member of the family and the non-vegan was a parent, older member of the family. And I guess this is probably why my experience is very different, because I'm the vegan and, I'm the 50-something-year-old bloke, so therefore I could be the older member of the family. It'd be interesting to see if the situation was the other way around, that actually it was the older member of the family, the parent perhaps, who was becoming the vegan, and actually it was the younger people in the family who wanted their meat and they weren't happy about this, and you're somehow enforcing your decisions on me, or these things are being discussed at the dinner table, and people might not want to consider where their food comes from and what happens at an abattoir, things like that. And we've got into hot water. I think I mentioned this in the past. We've got into hot water with people. Interesting, again, it was actually with an older generation who just did not want to know. They don't want to know. I mean, they bought their meat from a butcher's, which was good, so they did understand the link there. It wasn't some shrink wrap thing from Tesco's or something. They did understand exactly where their meat was coming from, but they didn't want to know about the process. They didn't want to know how their food had got to their table. And I once started to talk about that and got into very serious trouble. So be interesting to know if the situation is reversed and it's the older person being the vegan and the younger people not very happy about it. But I think because there's a cultural dimension to veganism, then that may be very rarely the case, but be interested to see if there's any stories out there on that. So I'm going to try and do some digging, really, because it does seem to be quite divisive. And certainly a contest programme who's divisive as Brexit, and Brexit's pretty divisive and can separate families. It does seem to be people have strong opinions both ways. That's probably a good thing, because when people have strong opinions, it shows that they're passionate about something, and if they were apathetic about it, I'd probably be even more worried then. There's, I don't really care, happy to eat meat, don't care where it comes from, anything like that, don't care. Then it's very difficult to engage with people in any sort of dialogue. But whereas if they're passionate about it, and they can see you're passionate about telling a different part of the story, then you can at least have a discussion. Might be heated, but you can at least have a discussion. And then see where that leads, and it might be that you just end up saying, "Well, we've got a difference of opinion," and you leave it at that. But at least you're having a discussion. I guess it's those people who don't want to even enter the discussion. They really don't care. They're not going to think about these things. They're not going to think about the diet. They're not going to think about the health. They're not going to think about animal welfare. They're not going to think about environmental impact. They're not going to think about sustainability. Food, they're just trapped in their own little world, and they really, really, really don't care. They're very difficult to deal with. And I think there are quite a lot of people out there. So that's been an interesting thing to find out about. My blood test, I was hoping that was going to arrive today. It hasn't. So I'm hoping it's going to arrive tomorrow, which will be handy if I could do it tomorrow, because I'm actually away Wednesday night into Thursday, so it's going to be tricky to do it then. So yeah, I'm hoping it arrives today so that I can do it and get it off in the post today, so I'll let you know how that goes. Hopefully it's a bit more successful this time. And now I've watched the video from Forth, which was very informative and helpful. So I have to say I can only recommend them highly. So far they've been very good and very helpful. Brilliant. Other than that, I hope if you've taken up Veganuary that it's going well for you. If you haven't, as I keep on saying, it's still not too late to think about these things, or just think about your diet and your health and food and sustainability and things like that, and do your own research. Have a great day, and we'll see you again. Bye.